Tonight, we're examining the troubling trend of cyber criminals gaining access to your child's personal information.
Investigating how a cyber attack this summer nearly cut off the blood supply to Florida hospital.
Curious about the digital world? Want to know how to stay safe online? Tune in to CyberSense, where we explore the latest tech trends and cybersecurity tips.
Hi everyone, welcome to CyberSense. I'm your host Rob Holloway. This is episode 5, I Can See You. So today we're going to be bringing a guest in. He is an actual hacker. Now if you remember a few episodes ago I talked about what the differences were between hackers, and he is a white hat hacker, which means he's a good guy. He fights for the side of good. He's a Jedi. None of this Sith Lord stuff here. For this show, we're going to refer to him as Bob. Because of the nature of his work, he's asked to remain anonymous. So with that said, let's jump straight into the interview and I'll introduce you all to Bob. So, hi Hacker Bob. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, we're going to jump straight into some questions, as I'm sure the listeners are really keen to hear all about what your day-to-day life is. So can you tell us, what is it like to be a hacker?
You've sort of got to put yourself into a mindset. So imagine you're out with your friends in a bar and one of them leaves their phone on the table and it's not locked and they go to get a drink. So you pick it up and you start to have a look through and you can see all their text messages, the websites they visit, their email, their secret conversations, all sorts about their life. And then are they going to turn around and look at you? Is somebody going to see what you're doing and judge you? Or else is he going to come back or she and they're going to tell them? And then of course when you've got all this information you're going to put the phone back just as you saw it before they came there. And now you know things that they didn't know you know. Now let's take that just another step further into the mindset. What if we could do that all the time and they never knew? We could see through their webcams, we could watch their life, we knew where they were, what they're doing. In fact, we can do that to anything in their entire home. You know, all their smart devices, TV microphones, anything you can think of, we can use to get an understanding of that person. Just imagine if you met that person and they didn't know. Could you look them in the eye and have a proper conversation with them? So that starts to get you into the idea of the feeling and emotion a hacker might be feeling as they're starting to glean and learn about information about somebody that they've taken an interest in.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is a mildly terrifying viewpoint right there. But also, I can understand the excitement that must come with that. I mean, thinking about the fear of picking up. Am I going to be discovered? Have they seen what I'm doing? That sort of stuff. So that must be a big motivator, isn't it? The rush that you'd get from doing that, right?
Well, it's an obsession.
Okay.
So hackers have a good mind, but they're incredibly persistent. They're happy to sit there for days and weeks to try and get into wherever they want to. If you take that idea I was giving you there, now let's scale it up to a company. And companies spend millions trying to stop people from doing this. So let's say now you're in a company and you've got that same level of visibility for everybody who works there, all that data. And of course they've got customers. So we can look at all that information as well. And now you're trying to stay hidden, out of the radar. You're not trying to trigger any alarms. And in the meantime, the company's trying to search you out, trying to discover if somebody's there, and you're trying to hide your trails. And if you get caught, you have to make it in a way that they might think they've caught you, but they haven't, and you're still hidden, buried deep away inside the organization. And this is really the mindset of this massive game of cat and mouse that hackers are undertaking all the time with this dedication and technical focus with extreme amounts of concentration.
Wow. I mean, there's a couple of questions I've got on that I'm hoping the listeners also have as well. What is the level of expertise that these hackers have to do to let's say, as you said, take over an organization, so jump into one and do these malicious acts or annoying acts and that sort of stuff? Do they have to be super smart geniuses, or could it be the kid next door?
It's a bit of a range in that. And there's a number of factors that play into the whole, how much intelligence or skill do you need in order to do that? A lot of it depends on the organisation and how much they've invested and what type of organisation they are. Are they a financial organisation, a bank? Are they a coffee shop on the corner of the street? Are they a government department with security there? And then hackers are sort of broadly separated into different groups of capability. One hacker typically doesn't do the whole job. So you've got right sort of the entry level, sort of the beginner, and they will use pre-made sort of applications like everybody else does in their day-to-day to hack in and, get access to email and that sort of stuff. And then as you go through, you get different groups that might be specialists in understanding insurance for companies and documentation, HR, and ringing people up, talking to them, social media. And then you get a series of group of people who might manufacture high-end, high-quality, really complex hacking tools that people who can't do that can use. And we call this hacking tools as a service, such as ransomware as a service, for example. This is where...
So it's like rent-a-car, but for hackers.
Yeah. This is where it really starts to get interesting. And then you start getting now into the real sort of sharp end of stuff. And as you start to get further out into this space, what's really going on now is you're getting into some real serious investment. You're taking millions and millions to build this technology that ultimately can go on to compromise more high-end stakeholders like governments and so on.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the money you just mentioned there, that brings me to the motivation. I mean, you kind of touched on a little bit about the rush and the money, but aside from the obvious, where they're going after money, what does motivate a hacker? I mean, what gets them out of bed? What makes them do this? And even if they've got enough money, what keeps them going? Or do they keep going? Do they retire to a beach somewhere and chill out, or what?
Well, hacker's an interesting term because it's actually probably not really representative where we are today. You've got people who just like to solve problems and solve Rubik's Cubes, and it's a problem for them. They can't stop it, it's an addiction. These sort of people are going in there to have a look, I've got in and get back out. They still exist, they're still out there, they're highly skilled individuals. But when we refer to hackers today, we're really talking about criminals and organised crime. And it's these sort of criminals that are really problematic, because what they're looking to do is use the same techniques as maybe the person who's motivated for, but what they're really doing is they're looking to steal information and sell it. So they're just doing their job. They get up at 9 o'clock, they work till 5 o'clock, they get paid for doing their job. A lot of it is an industry, and of course there's groups of people and tiers of groups within there that are making more profit and more money off the extortion that they get. And obviously that money is organised crime money, so that money then needs to be laundered and be cleaned and so on. But that money ultimately is fueling, a criminal empire that they create, and they make a lot of money at the high end of the hacking sort of organised crime space.
Wow. I guess, I've got a follow-up question on that one. With the organised crime, and where are these guys based? I mean, to escape, if they were just down the road, let's say in Ireland, UK, US, surely the governments could shut them down. Are these guys operating in countries that the governments may not necessarily care, or are they operating in the UK, US, Ireland, these sort of places?
So to talk about that, really, let's have another imaginary vision. Let's say you wanted to rob a bank, right? You would walk down there, you would walk around it, you would go inside, have a look at the cameras, and you'd sit and plan, and you'd research outside. So you'd be physically near the location, you'd be planning it out, and you would leave some form of fingerprints and all sorts of things in there. And then eventually you'd have to go there, grab the money, and somehow escape, right? Mm-hmm. The whole thing's about the planning, the doing, and the escape. In a digital world, it doesn't work like that. In a digital world, you can be sitting in another country, and you can look at that digital bank, and you can start to do all the same things, but you're in a different part of the world. And they use a system called the dark web. And the dark web is actually a network of computers that mean that I can talk to you now, but you would never know who I am or where I am, or really anything about me. I'm able to communicate in that way. So I'm able to hide behind the dark web and peer through that at the victims that need to be targeted. And then on the basis of that, I don't even have to leave the office. I can then steal data. Now, if you want to understand why people steal data, let's imagine that we stole data that was really, really sensitive. Like, for example, let's say it was medical data about somebody famous. Let's say it was somebody's browsing history and they didn't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
Let's say,
That's a common email that goes around, yeah.
Let's say it's those text messages that you did to someone who was secret and you went out to dinner that night. Would you pay for that information not to be shared with everybody you knew on your social media account by 6 o'clock? And how much would you be prepared to pay? Well, that's obviously going to depend roughly the impact that's going to have on you, and you're going to weigh it up. Maybe I do give them that €1,000 to stop them sending all them text messages to someone I know, or that video of me in my camera that I took to the bathroom and didn't realise someone was watching me while I was in the bathroom with my camera. That wouldn't be great if it gets sent to your boss. So ultimately, they hide away behind this network of invisible computers in different jurisdictions and countries, which makes it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to apply the same laws to them when they're not in the same country.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just want to touch on that example. You actually brought up something there that is very common, that some of our listeners hopefully haven't been victims to, but if they have, I'm sure they're wondering, what they can do. If you did get one of those ransomware requests where it's like, hey, I've seen what you do in the bathroom, or I've seen those texts and I'm going to release them. What's your advice to them? Do you say pay and they'll go away, or if you pay them, are they just going to come back for more and more? How you always hear the FBI negotiators say, never pay the ransom. Is it something like that? I mean, do you just tell them, okay, no, I'm not engaging with you, and don't pay them and accept the risk? I mean, it depends obviously what they've got, but yeah, what can you do as an individual if that happens?
Sure. Well, first of all, you've got to recognise when it's real or not. So it will be real if someone sends you a picture and you're on it and you recognise yourself sitting in the bathroom, okay? We'll come back to that one in a minute. The rest of them, if I'm honest with you, are just fake. They haven't really installed malware on your computer. They don't really know about your browsing history at all. They don't know. They're just sending you this email in the event that you'll have so much fear and think, oh no, and then you'll go and pay them for them to go away, and they'll only be back. If you pay them, they will be back. Then there's a different type of email you get. This is an extortion email, and I'll tell you exactly how these work. So these work where someone will send you a video of you doing what they were going to share. And it will count down with a clock. It will give you a time, 1 hour, 12 hours, 60 seconds, depending what it is, and that clock will start to tick down on the screen, on your WhatsApp, whatever it is. And they will say they want a lot of money because they'll know that they have you in a bad place. So what they will be doing is they will be prepared to send it. The bottom line is they're going to send it. They're going to send it to everybody they can when they have your money. Once you decide you can't pay, because once you pay them once, they want it again. So they are going to send it. The only way to stop them from sending it is to essentially get them out of your social media account immediately and lock them out. Remove them from your friend list, everything you can do. And if they do send it, you can go online and restrict it and pull it back almost straight away. And social media companies are brilliant at pulling this stuff down. But ultimately, if someone's got a video of you doing something bad and they want money, they are going to send it.
Yeah, it's good advice. So, so I guess the simple advice there is don't pay them. It's going to get out.
Don't even respond to them.
Yeah.
Talking to them will only mean that they apply more pressure and they're less likely to give you more time because now you interact with them. So if you have 12 hours, you'll have 6 hours. The moment you start to communicate, they'll give you less time because they'll know you'll go away and you'll have to think about it, so they'll shrink it right down that time. It'll give you less reaction time.
They're working off that pressure and fear, the psychology, exactly the same as phishing emails and that sort of stuff. So that's cool.
And it's really distressing. And many people this has really happened to. Even contacted me with the countdown on the phone as it's counting them down, as they're panicking as it's going out. And there's just an element of it is going to crash land. You've just got to brace yourself for what happens next. It's awful, really terrible.
It is, but on one sense, I mean, you're taking the power back, right? When you're deciding not to pay and you're going, no, I'm not doing that. You've taken the power out of them. So it's awful,
Yeah.
absolutely awful. So on that lovely note,
No,
yeah, we're going to jump into another darker one.
oh, right, okay.
So there's a question I'm sure the listeners want to know, and I definitely want to know. What can you take me through? What a hacker might do if they hacked you, an individual? I know you mentioned what they might do in a company, and they'll go after certain things. But what about as an individual in your home? What are they going to do? Because we all hear people saying, "Oh, I've been hacked," or "I've got a virus," "I've done this," but a lot of people might not know what is actually happening behind the scenes. What is that hacker or that virus doing when it's on
Yeah.
your system?
So this is how it works. In the majority of cases, you've installed something on your computer, or you've been using the same username and password across websites. That password you've been using across websites, one of those sites has been hacked, so now everywhere where you use that password has been hacked. Or you've had some bad software on your computer, your antivirus has not detected it, doesn't detect them all. In fact, if I wrote one, it would work on your machine, your machine would never know.
It's a good thing you're a good guy. I am going to reiterate that for
Definitely
the
good
listeners.
guy,
He is a
yeah.
good guy. So.
Or good gal, whichever.
Yeah. Hacker Bob is good. So carry on. Sorry.
That's fine. So they will have, they're definitely going to get access to your accounts. Now, the account they're usually looking for really is where you store card details. So things like Amazon, your PayPal, your bank details. Bank's a bit more trickier because it's 2FA, or you have to put multiple codes, but they'll be looking for where you've stored your cards with your shopping. Because they're going to want to spend stuff. Well, they want you to buy them stuff, right? So what they'll do is they really want access to your email. Because then they can go to all these websites they want to get in and say, I forgot my password. And then they will send an email send a reset password to your email, and then they'll reset it, and then they'll delete it out of your email. And then they'll get access to your social media, of course, and they'll lock you out of your social media. They'll lock you out and change your names and your emails from your Amazon account. They will start to change all your identities on all these platforms, but they will leave your card details on there. And the reason why they'll do that is so they can spend on it and get it delivered somewhere else. And they usually buy e-vouchers or strange things that you probably never even thought of buying. But they'll buy this stuff so they can resell it. Usually digital codes, subscriptions, that sort of stuff. So this is what the majority of the time they're doing. On social media, they'll start to talk to your friends, say, maybe I'm broke down, I need some money. They might say, hey, I've just invested in this crypto return. I put 500 in, I got 1,000 back. It's amazing. Get on it. Only lasts to the end of the day on the Facebook. People fall for this stuff because they trust you and you're telling them this stuff. So it doesn't register. So this is what they're doing. They're really trying to scam. So the majority of the time, the people stealing you or hacking you are scammers who have just bought your passwords off the dark web, and now they're logging into everything you can log in, and they're trying their best to spend money.
Okay, yeah. So that's terrifying in of itself, right? That's what they're. So money again. It all comes back to money, right? What about like the Internet of Things? Everyone hears about that. And for the listeners that don't know what I mean by the Internet of Things, what I mean by that is anything that's connected in your home. If you have a security camera that is internet capable, connected to the internet, if you have one of those Ring doorbells or the doorbells that have video capability, or you have anything in your home like a smart speaker, that sort of stuff, anything that connects to the internet is an Internet of Thing. Okay, so that's what I'm meaning. And you hear about them getting hacked a lot, especially ones that you buy cheap from China or something like that, which come without the updates. What about those? Are those particularly vulnerable? Are they terrifying to have in the house? Are they okay to have in the house? What would a hacker do if they got access to them?
Well, obviously there's the worst case scenario, where they watch you.
Yeah.
Don't put these things in your bedroom. But really, when it comes to Internet of Things, there's a number of reasons why hackers target Internet of Things. So the probably best way to describe this is hackers need an army of technology to target an organization. They don't just have one machine. They might have hundreds of machines that they're using in order to target an organization. We call this a botnet. So they're like little zombie machines all over the place. The reason why they want these is people will often realize that, oh, that machine's talking to me, so I'll block it. I'll cut that off because it's a bad machine, so we won't let that talk to me anymore. So they just need to switch to another one. So they tend to have, seriously large amounts of this stuff. What hackers tend to do is there's certain types of hacker groups that will collect machines, especially machines on the Internet of Things. So cameras, heat sensors, light bulbs, video cameras, whatever's going that can be hacked and vulnerable, they'll automatically be out on the web searching and hacking these devices, joining their big network of hacked devices. And then they will sell these devices to hackers for, say, a period of time, maybe a day, an hour, a week, or so on. Now, just imagine if there was maybe 1 million hacked devices in this hacker's network, and they rented that to a hacker for a day, and that hacker said, go and download this from this website. So 1 million machines decided to download something from a website. That website's probably not going to work anymore because it's getting absolutely destroyed by so much traffic and so much sort of pulling down. It's just going to crash and die, So that's one of the reasons why they do it. And of course, hackers need to be hidden away, or especially their infrastructure, the things that they really spend money on. They don't want that too close to the victim because they might have to rebuild it again. It's expensive. So they tend to use this Internet of Things to sort of front that. So that gets taken down. And also, how do you take an Internet of Things down? It's difficult, right? If someone's in their home, so you as a normal person, law-abiding, completely oblivious to that your light bulb is now hacking some major governance system in the country. I mean,
you get a knock on the door, right? Yeah.
You have no idea. So, it's really, really complex. But that's probably one of the main use cases that it's used for. Obviously, there are you can let your imagination go, and you're probably not going to be far off, ultimately what it looks like.
I mean, that is a scary thought, but it's also good to know, right? I mean, it's good to know what we might be vulnerable to. So to give our listeners hope, after all this fear, how can our listeners protect themselves? Like, what steps can they do to avoid being one of these botnet victims or victims of hackers, especially like the scammers and that sort of stuff?
So when it comes to hackers, and it comes down to actual people, you're more likely to fall victim of a scam. So they're really sort of basic, entry-level criminals that don't really have a lot of skill sets, if I'm really honest. So the majority of people will fall victim to scams. The two best things, we'll say the top three things you could do today that would radically reduce your risk of being a victim is, number one, is come up with a system where you can not use the same password for your email, your bank, your social media, and your critical websites like shopping, anywhere where you're storing credit cards or debit card details, and store those passwords in a key safe. So they're built into the iPhone. They'll say, do you want me to generate a password for you? Yes. Do you want me to save your password? Yes. You don't have to type it in. You don't have to remember it, and you can have a unique one all the time. There's KeyPass, there's Norton Password Manager. Use a password manager. That's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice, so never try not to share passwords across multiple websites, because that means your blast radius for an account being hacked is massive. Second thing you should do, and this is a must do, is you should put on the two-factor. Now, two-factor is not infallible. I mean, your brain can't probably work it out how someone to beat that, but trust me, it's doable, and it's quite straightforward. But turn on your two-factor. If you don't know how to do it, YouTube it. How do I turn two-factor on for my Apple, my Amazon, my PayPal? Your bank's already got it because they're just going to make you do it. My email, most critical thing, put it on your email. It's really important. So two-factor is the next thing. And the third most critical thing is this. My honest advice is never click on a link from a text or an email. Just never do it. The truth of this is this. It doesn't matter how good you are at spotting phishing emails. It doesn't matter how many times you spotted one. One day you will click on one. Everybody, and I mean everybody, will click on a phishing email if it's sent to you in the right way. So the only way you can protect yourself from phishing emails is if someone sends you an email and it's got a link on it, log in. Now, it's easier said than done, 'cause you might get a voucher and so on. So, not great, is it completely unavoidable? But if you take that mindset of I'm never clicking on the link, when you really have to click on one, you're going to be really cautious and you're going to want to do lots of double checking before you do it. So, personally, I never click on them. I actually get vouchers sent to me through the post, and then I'll type on it. So, and the rationale for that is, this is my speciality, and I can't guarantee myself that I won't click on a phishing link. So I ain't clicking on anything. No text, no nothing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, these are great advice, and they're simple things to do as well, right? I mean, this is a simple safety measure that our listeners can do. Don't click any links unless you can't avoid it, and if you can't avoid it, be vigilant, right?
And I'll tell you something else, Rob, on this one, which is often you go to a website and a screen will pop up and say, you've got a virus, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Any pop-ups on your screen that say phone numbers are scams, 100% all the time. Never ring them, ever. The people will answer this stuff, and they will talk to you, and they will sound legitimate, but anybody who's asking you to install things on your machine is trying to tell you that it's really urgent about your money. Just hang up and call your bank. Ring the number you trust. Don't trust anyone that calls you, and don't trust any pop-up that ever comes onto your machine. It might seem a bit paranoid. You think, oh, no, it never happened to me. But I assure you, the people who designed this stuff have sat down for a very long time and thought about it. And sooner or later, you will fit into that sort of space, whether you're investing or whether you're just looking something up. So always go to the website, the main company yourself. Always ring the telephone number for the company off their legitimate website. If it's legitimate, if it's a problem, if it's urgent, they'll talk to you and send you to the right person.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's, again, good advice. So, look, Bob, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We're unfortunately out of time. I'm sure we could talk for hours about this. And if the listeners want, we'll get Bob back if you're willing. But for the listeners out there, I'm going to put up a few links to what Bob's talked about, some more information, some advice on password managers, what they are, a bit of links there. But look, Bob, thank you so much for your time again. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic day.
Oh, well, I've been up, 48 hours hacking in. So, I'm going to take it easy and have a break.
Good idea. Maybe get a coffee and some sleep, right?
Definitely big on coffee. Hackers definitely drink a lot of coffee.
Fantastic.
See you later.
Tonight, we're examining the troubling trend of cyber criminals gaining access to your child's personal information.
Investigating how a cyber attack this summer nearly cut off the blood supply to Florida hospital.
Curious about the digital world? Want to know how to stay safe online? Tune in to CyberSense, where we explore the latest tech trends and cybersecurity tips.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, this is that time of the show where we have the Q&A with my producer Danny, who has a lot of questions, I'm sure, after hearing Hacker Bob there. So Danny, you want to take it away?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know where to start actually, but the types of hackers, like these 9-to-5 guys, that's just like some guy that is down the street that works in an office that for an IT firm, but is secretly doing some mad stuff at home, like.
No, so what Hacker Bob there was meaning about the 9-to-5ers, the 9-to-5ers are organised crime gangs that have hired people. So they're in call centres, they're in this sort of stuff, and their 9-to-5 job is to hack. So they'll come in, they'll do their job, they'll get a salary or a wage or whatever, and then they'll have targets just like other salespeople, targets people to hack, that sort of jazz, and they might make all kinds of bonuses or whatever, I don't really know. But their job is to come in 9-to-5, do this hacking, and then go home, and they spend time with their families, and they don't really think about the pain and suffering they're causing, or if they do, they don't care. But yeah, that's what they're doing. So that's what he meant by the 9-to-5.
Yeah, okay.
What you're talking about there, you're talking about more the part-timer, the amateur hacker. So they're people that are potentially highly skilled as well, but they're doing it less for for, well, not necessarily for money, they might be, but in general they're doing it because they're honing their skills, they're trying to achieve a challenge, nuisances, hacktivists, that sort of stuff. They're less around the we're recording you going into the bathroom and we're going to blackmail you. They're more around the seeing the challenge they can do into hacking into systems.
How do these guys get into your system, though? And what's the chances of them? It'd be more a business they'd be after, so more so than an individual.
Yeah, so that's exactly what Hacker Bob was saying there. Majority of the time, they're interested in a business because that's where the money is, right? That's where the big scores are. Yes, you get the annoying ones where they're recording you and stuff like that, but as he was saying there, that is rare, where it's an actual recording. More often than not, it's fake. It's a fish. It's absolute bollocks. They're not on your systems at all. They're hoping you'll click on that link. And remember, we talked about this in phishing. Don't click the link. And Hacker Bob said the exact same thing in How to Protect Yourself. And he was saying, don't click links, because that's how they get in. They get in through you clicking links, through downloading illegal software or dangerous software, or websites that have been hacked, and then you interact with that site and click a link from it or something like that. That is how they get into your systems. But yeah, on the whole, they're more after the larger organizations than individuals.
Once they're in, they're probably once they're in your system, they can find out your passwords too. Various different...
No, so the way they'll get passwords, and what Hacker Bob was talking about there with the passwords and not reusing passwords, is they might hack a system, right? Not necessarily your home, but they might hack a company, and then they'll get that database of that company, and in that database will have your username and password, potentially. And then they're going to use that, and if you've reused that password anywhere, and they know that you have an account somewhere else, they're going to try that password. And they're not just going to try that password, they're going to try other iterations of it. And there's software out there that they can just put in your password and it will start trying different iterations of it automatically. So they don't even need to sit there and do it. They just throw this information in and walk away, have a coffee, come back and go, oh yeah, okay, we've got Jim Bob down there, we've got them, yeah, okay, look, there we've got their email, there we've got their gym membership, oh yeah, there we got this. Then they build this massive picture about you, and then they can start getting this stuff for blackmail or for hacking you or hacking your friends, hacking your family, selling that information on the dark web. As Hacker Bob mentioned, there is a really it's a completely different community in there, and that's where they work. They live and work in the dark web.
So basically, one of the ways that you could protect yourself, right, is having different passwords. But people don't do that. Like, I mean, I've got work passwords that are different to my personal passwords, but the work passwords are similar to all of there's different iterations of them, like. So that's...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So you put more of an effort into your work passwords, but you, like an individual probably wouldn't, right, in their everyday stuff. I guess what Hacker Bob mentioned there is use a password manager. So your Apple iPhone, your Android phone, all these things will have password managers built into them. And it will say, hey, do you want to create a password? Apple one is fantastic because it has a keychain in there. And what a keychain is a secure vault, and it's restricted just to that keychain. But a password manager is things like LastPass, these sort of stuff. Nord, they all have these things that you can pay for. Yes, they do. They do cost some of them, but LastPass is free for personal use, and that will create passwords, very, very strong passwords, and unique ones for you. So all you need to remember is the password to LastPass. So make that really tricky and two-factor the heck out of it, and then you're safe. Then even if they get that one password, it doesn't matter because you haven't reused it anywhere else.
Okay, so that to have a password manager, just to have that, and that'll change all of those passwords over. No,
so it won't automatically change them. What it will do is as you create a profile. So let's say, for example, you go to your new favorite shop and you're buying something and it goes, hey, do you want to create an account? And you go, yeah, sure, this is great. I can save all my details. I don't need to worry. Blah 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 blah. at that point, it will say, hey, do you want me to create or generate a password? And that's where you go, yes, and then you save it. And then what you do is if you want to change that, you go into the site and you change it, and your password manager, LastPass, for example, will go, oh, this is different. Do you want me to update your password? And you go, yes. Or you can just go, hey, generate me a new one, and it will do it. It won't update the sites, okay? You have to do that yourself.
Yeah.
There may be some out there that I don't know of that do that, but you don't really want them. You don't want them interacting with these sites because it just means they get a bit more hooks into things. So I would just do that. Apple's a fantastic one. LastPass is a fantastic one. These are really good systems, and they're free.
Yeah, LastPass and Apple are the ones you recommend anyway.
Yeah, so Apple comes with your Apple devices.
With your iPhone and Mac and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And LastPass is a program. Again, two-factor it. I'm going to upload a lot of information about this to the site cybersenseradio.com. We'll have all of the links, a bit more information about this, and a bit more things. A bit more information about what Hacker Bob was talking about as well. So look. Oh, sorry. We've run out of time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we did. So the just on the website, just again, where you can get more information on this, what's the name of the website? We'll have a link in the description as well, but for people that are just listening and probably haven't gone into social media here, we'll just, if you could just...
Yeah, so it's cybersenseradio.com. And it will have links to the previous episodes, and it will have a lot of tips and tricks in each of those. So check it out. It'll help you on your cyber journey. Now,
and we'll have links to a link in the description of our social media posts for the podcast for this as well.
Fantastic. Look, that is all the time we've got. If you do have any questions, WhatsApp them to 086 387 6036. But John Gibbons is up next with the Eclectic Mix.
Tonight we're examining the troubling trend of cyber criminals gaining access to your child's personal information.
Investigating how a cyber attack this summer nearly cut off the blood supply to Florida hospital.
Curious about the digital world? Want to know how to stay safe online? Tune in to CyberSense, where we explore the latest tech trends and cybersecurity tips.